Part 1. The Demonstration. The viewing gallery of the Galactic Council chamber buzzed with quiet conversation. Delegates from 200 different worlds filled the massive room, their various forms creating a strange mixture of colors, shapes, and sizes. Some stood on legs, others floated, and a few rested in tanks of liquid. All of them had come to see the same thing, what the humans had built. Captain Dae-hyun stood on the bridge of the Tess Indomitable, his hands clasped behind his back. Through the massive forward viewport, he could see the distant lights of Axiom Prime, the neutral station where the council met. His ship hung in space nearby, waiting. The demonstration would begin in 5 minutes. "All systems ready, Captain," Ji-woo reported from the weapons station. She was young for such an important position, but Dae-hyun trusted her completely. She had helped design half the systems she now controlled. "Good," Dae-hyun said. His voice was calm, but inside his stomach twisted with nervousness. Everything depended on the next hour. If the demonstration went well, Earth would finally be accepted as a full member of the Galactic Council. If it went badly, humanity might remain isolated for another generation. Ambassador Hana sat in the front row of the viewing gallery, trying to appear confident. She wore formal Earth clothing, carefully chosen to look professional but not military. Around her, alien delegates whispered to each other in hundreds of languages. Translation devices made their words intelligible, but the tone was clear, curiosity mixed with doubt. "Do you really think their ship is as advanced as they claim?" asked a delegate with green, scaly skin. "Humans are new," another replied. "Their technology cannot possibly match ours." Hana said nothing. She simply smiled and waited. In the council chamber's control center, Speaker Vexthar activated the communication system. His 3 pairs of arms moved across different control panels simultaneously. "Attention," he announced, his voice translated instantly into every language present. "The demonstration will now begin. Captain Dae-hyun of the human vessel Indomitable, you may proceed." Dae-hyun took a breath. "Acknowledged, Speaker. Beginning demonstration sequence." He nodded to his navigation officer. The Indomitable began to move. Unlike most ships, which needed time to build speed and change direction, the human vessel simply disappeared from one location and reappeared in another. There was no flash, no sound in the vacuum of space. It simply was elsewhere. The viewing gallery fell silent. "That was the Cascade Drive," Hana explained to the delegates nearest her, keeping her voice neutral. "It allows near-instant repositioning within local space. Useful for tactical situations." The ship demonstrated again, appearing at 5 different locations in rapid succession. Each position would have been impossible for conventional vessels to reach so quickly. Several delegates leaned forward, their interest clearly growing. "Now we will demonstrate defensive capabilities," Dae-hyun announced. He gave Ji-woo a small nod. Automated weapons platforms, arranged beforehand at safe distances, began firing at the Indomitable. Bright streams of energy weapons lit up the darkness. Every shot was carefully calculated to show different attack patterns, different frequencies, different power levels. The ship's shields absorbed them all. But something strange happened. With each impact, the shields seemed to change, their color shifting slightly. When the platforms fired the same type of weapon again, the shields glowed brighter, absorbing the energy more efficiently. "Adaptive shield technology," Hana continued her explanation. "The system learns from each attack and adjusts to counter it more effectively." "Impossible," muttered a tall, thin alien with 4 eyes. "Shield harmonics cannot adapt that quickly." "Apparently they can," Hana replied softly. Admiral Kyung-soo watched from Earth, sitting in a military command center buried deep beneath Seoul. Multiple screens showed him different views of the demonstration. His weathered face remained expressionless, but his fingers drummed against the armrest of his chair. He had argued against making the demonstration so impressive. "Show them we are competent," he had said, "not that we are superior." But the politicians had overruled him. They wanted to make an impression, to force the council to take humanity seriously. Now, watching the alien delegates' reactions on his screen, Kyung-soo felt the first cold touch of worry. The demonstration continued. The Indomitable intercepted simulated missiles, disabled drone fighters, and performed maneuvers that should have torn a normal ship apart. Its speed and agility made every other vessel in the area look slow and clumsy by comparison. Then came the final test. Now we demonstrate the primary weapon system, Daehyun announced. His voice carried no pride or boasting, just simple statement of fact. 3 large asteroids had been positioned at a safe distance, each one marked with sensor beacons. They were debris, useless rocks floating in space, perfect targets for weapon testing. Jiwoo's fingers moved across her console. Gravity lance charging, she reported. Target locked. Firing in 3, 2, 1, firing. Nothing visible left the ship. No beam of light, no missile, no explosion. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the first asteroid began to collapse. It didn't explode outward. Instead, it crushed inward, folding in on itself like paper crumpling in a fist. In seconds, it had compressed into a point of absolute darkness, a tiny sphere that bent the light around it. The miniature black hole hung in space for a moment, then began to pull at the other asteroids. They shattered and fell toward it, their fragments spiraling inward like water down a drain. For several long seconds, matter continued to feed into the artificial singularity. Then, as suddenly as it had formed, the black hole evaporated. A brief flash of radiation marked its death, carefully directed away from any inhabited areas. The viewing gallery was absolutely silent. Daehyun allowed himself a small smile. Demonstration complete, speaker. The gravity lance can be used at various power levels, from ship-to-ship combat to planetary defense. The singularity formation is temporary and controlled, dissipating safely after approximately 10 seconds. More silence. Ambassador Hana looked around the gallery. She had expected amazement, perhaps even applause. Instead, she saw something that made her blood run cold. Fear. Pure, undisguised fear on hundreds of alien faces. A delegate near her stood up abruptly and left the gallery. Then another. Then several more. Within minutes, whole groups were departing, their conversations urgent and worried. Speaker Vexthar's voice crackled over the communication system. Thank you, Captain Daehyun. The Council will discuss what we have seen. This session is adjourned. Hana's communication device buzzed. A message from Admiral Kyung-soo marked urgent. They're terrified. Prepare for fallout. She looked back toward the viewport where the Indomitable hung in space, powerful and beautiful, and suddenly very alone. They had wanted to show the galaxy what humanity could do. They had succeeded, and now Hana realized with growing dread that might be exactly the problem. Daehyun sat in his captain's chair watching the council station in the distance. His crew celebrated quietly around him, pleased with the flawless execution of their demonstration. But he saw Jiwoo's expression and knew she felt it too. Something had gone wrong. Captain? She asked quietly. I don't know yet, he replied. But he felt it in his bones. They had not made friends today. They had made something else entirely. In the council chamber's private rooms, delegates gathered in urgent clusters. They spoke in hushed, frightened voices about what they had witnessed. Some called it a miracle of engineering. Others called it a nightmare. And in the darkest corners of the galaxy, in military headquarters and government offices, certain beings began to make plans. Plans for what to do about the humans and their terrible, wonderful ship. The demonstration was over. But something new was beginning. Something that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The humans had shown their power. Now they would learn the price of being too strong. Part 2. The Secret Coalition. 3 days after the demonstration, Ambassador Hana sat in her office staring at an empty calendar. She had requested meetings with 47 different council delegates. Not one had accepted. Most had not even replied. This is unprecedented, Minji said, pacing back and forth. As Hana's intelligence officer and aide, she had seen many diplomatic situations. This was different. In 2 years of working here, I have never seen such complete silence. Hana rubbed her tired eyes. She had barely slept since the demonstration. They are afraid of us. Afraid? We have done nothing wrong. No, Hana agreed. But we showed them we could. Minji stopped pacing and looked at her screen. Ambassador, I'm picking up unusual communication traffic. Encrypted channels between various governments. The volume is 10 times normal levels. Can you break the encryption? Some of it. Fragments only. Minji pulled up data on her tablet. But what I am seeing worries me. Words like human problem and containment and emergency measures keep appearing. Hana felt ice in her stomach. Forward everything to Admiral Kyung-soo. He needs to see this. The only delegate who agreed to meet with Hana was Tavreen of the Velen Confederacy. He was a small bird-like creature with bright blue feathers and large, intelligent eyes. They met in a private garden, away from recording devices and watching eyes. "Thank you for coming," Hana said. Tavreen looked around nervously before speaking. "I should not be here. My government has ordered all delegates to avoid contact with Earth representatives. Why? What have we done?" "You have done exactly what you intended," Tavreen said. "You have shown the galaxy that humanity is more advanced than anyone expected." "Much more advanced. Is that a crime?" "No, but it is terrifying." Tavreen's feathers ruffled in agitation. "Ambassador Hana, you must understand. The galactic peace has lasted for 3 centuries because everyone knows where they stand. The Krell Empire has the strongest military. The Velen Confederacy has the best trade networks. The Thros have the most advanced medicine. Everyone has their place. And humans? Humans were supposed to be the newcomers, eager students learning from older, wiser civilizations." Tavreen's large eyes filled with something like pity. "Instead, you have shown us technology we cannot match, weapons we cannot counter, and you did it so quickly, seemingly overnight." Hana felt anger rising in her chest. "So they hate us for being good at what we do?" "Not hate, fear. And fear makes people do terrible things." Tavreen pulled out a small data device and pressed it into Hana's hand. "A coalition is forming. I should not tell you this, but I believe it is wrong. 43 species have signed a secret agreement. They are drafting emergency legislation called the Axiom Accords." "What kind of legislation?" "The kind that would ban your ship from galactic space. They want to classify the Indomitable as a weapon of mass stellar disruption. Any human vessel with similar capabilities would be ordered to leave Council space immediately or face military action." Hana stared at the data device in her hand. "They would attack us?" "If you refuse to comply, yes. The Krell Empire is leading the coalition. They have the most to lose if humanity challenges their military dominance." Tavreen's voice dropped to a whisper. "The vote will happen in 10 days. I am sorry, Ambassador. I wish I could do more." After Tavreen left, Hana sat alone in the garden for a long time. Then she contacted Minji. "Find someone for me. Someone who knows the underworld, who hears things that do not appear in official channels." "I might know someone," Minji said. "But it will cost us. Pay whatever they ask." Sunho was not what Hana expected. The merchant captain looked more like a pirate than a businessman, with scarred hands and a crooked smile. They met in a bar on the lower levels of Axiom Prime where the lighting was dim and no one asked questions. "Ambassador," Sunho said, raising a glass. "Interesting times we live in. You have heard something?" "I have heard many things. The question is, what are they worth to you?" Hana slid a credit chip across the table. Sunho examined it, nodded, and pocketed it smoothly. "The galaxy is mobilizing," he said quietly. "Military fleets are conducting exercises near human trade routes. The Krell have activated reserve units for the first time in 50 years, and various governments are purchasing war game simulations specifically designed to counter your Cascade Drive technology." "How do you know this?" Sunho smiled. "I sell things to people who do not want records of their purchases. Wargame software is very profitable right now. Everyone wants to know how to fight a ship like yours. We have not threatened anyone." "No," Sunho agreed. "But you could." "That is enough." He leaned forward. "Here is something else you should know. There are whispers of a more permanent solution. Some species are discussing whether humans should be allowed to remain in Council space at all." Hana felt cold. "They would exile us. Or worse. Not everyone believes in half measures." Sunho finished his drink. "My advice, Ambassador? Be very careful in the next few days. And perhaps keep your wonderful ship close to home." That night, Hana assembled her team in the secure room of Earth's embassy. Minji had gathered all the intelligence they could find. The picture it painted was grim. 43 species confirmed, Minji reported. Possibly more. The coalition includes most of the major military powers except the Velen Confederacy and a handful of smaller governments. "What about friendly contacts?" "We have 8 species we consider friendly. None of them are part of the coalition, but none have spoken out against it either. They are staying neutral." "So we are alone," Hana said. "It appears so." Hana looked at the star map on the wall, showing the location of human colonies and ships. Earth's influence in the galaxy was still small, just a few dozen systems. "The Council controlled thousands. Can we fight them?" one of her aides asked. "Fight?" Hana laughed bitterly. We have one advanced ship and 3 more under construction. They have thousands. We might win battles, but we cannot win a war. Then what do we do? I do not know yet, Hana admitted. She sent a message to Admiral Kyung-soo and President Yoon-ji on Earth. The message was simple but carried terrible weight. Coalition forming to ban the Indomitable. Vote in 10 days. Unified military response authorized if we do not comply. Advise. The response came 6 hours later, and it split Earth's government down the middle. Admiral Kyung-soo wanted to deploy all available ships and make a show of strength. President Yoon-ji wanted to recall the Indomitable and seek a diplomatic solution. Hana read both recommendations and felt exhausted. Neither seemed right. Neither seemed likely to work. In the council chamber, Speaker Vexthar reviewed the draft of the Axiom Accords. He had been speaker for 20 years and had seen many crises. But this one worried him deeply. The coalition had come together with frightening speed, driven by something primal and dangerous. He thought about calling Ambassador Hana, about warning her officially. But his hands were tied. The coalition had the votes. The accords would pass, and once they passed, the galaxy would change forever. On the Indomitable, Captain Dae-hyun received new orders from Earth. Return home immediately. Avoid all contact with alien vessels. Prepare for possible quarantine. He read the orders 3 times, then looked at his crew. They deserved better than this. They had done everything right, performed flawlessly, and now they were being treated like criminals. Jiwoo, he called. How long until we reach Earth? At standard speed, 18 days, Captain. And using the Cascade drive? We could be there in 4 days. But the orders say to avoid attention. Dae-hyun made a decision. We will take the long route. Standard speed. If anyone wants to talk to us, they will have time to do so. But nobody wanted to talk to them. As the Indomitable began its journey home, it passed through space lanes that had been busy with traffic just days before. Now they were empty. Ships changed course to avoid them. Communication requests went unanswered. The galaxy had made its decision.
Humanity was too powerful.
And being too powerful, in a galaxy that valued stability above all else, was the worst crime of all. Part 3. Fractured Command Admiral. Kyung-soo stood before the Joint Chiefs of Staff in Earth's military headquarters. The room was deep underground, protected by meters of concrete and steel. On the walls, screens showed the positions of every human ship in space. Most of them were civilian vessels, cargo haulers and colony transports. Only the Indomitable was a true warship. We must respond with strength, Kyung-soo said, his voice hard. The coalition respects only power. If we appear weak now, they will walk over us forever. General Park, head of Earth's Space Forces, nodded. We have 3 sister ships under construction. They are not complete, but they can fly. We could deploy them alongside the Indomitable. 4 ships would send a message. What message? Asked Admiral Chen. She was older than Kyung-soo and more cautious. That we want to fight? 4 ships against thousands? That we will not be bullied, Kyung-soo replied. That we will not dismantle our own property because aliens are afraid of it. The debate continued for hours. The military leadership was split. Some wanted aggression, others wanted caution. In the end, they sent their recommendations to President Yoon-ji. But they all knew that whatever she decided would change Earth's future. President Yoon-ji sat in her office in the government complex, reading the military's recommendations. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. She had been president for 6 years and had guided humanity through its first contact with alien civilizations. Now everything she had built was threatened. Her chief advisor, Director Han, stood by the window. What will you do, Madam President? What can I do? Yoon-ji replied. If I send ships, the coalition will see it as aggression. If I do nothing, we look weak. If I surrender the Indomitable, we lose our best defense. Perhaps we could negotiate. With whom? No one will talk to us. Yoon-ji put down the reports and rubbed her temples. This is my fault. I approved the demonstration. I thought showing our strength would earn respect. Instead, it earned fear. You could not have known. I should have. She made her decision. Recall the Indomitable. Ground all warships until we find a diplomatic solution, and send a message to Ambassador Hana. Tell her to offer anything, promise anything, to buy us time. The order reached the Indomitable while it was still 3 days from Earth. Captain Daehyun read it twice, his face expressionless. Then he called his senior officers to the briefing room. Commander Jae-sung arrived first. He was younger than Daehyun, ambitious and confident. Behind him came Young Mi, the chief engineer, and Seo Jun, the navigation officer. Others followed until the room was full. New orders, Daehyun said. We are to return to Earth immediately and remain grounded until further notice. Silence filled the room. Then Jae-sung spoke. Grounded. We have done nothing wrong. The president believes showing weakness will encourage negotiation. Weakness? Jae-sung's voice rose. Captain, our only crime was being good at what we do. If we back down now, they will think they can push us around forever. I agree with Commander Jae-sung, said the tactical officer. We should show strength, not fear. But Young Mi shook her head. This ship was built to defend Earth, not start wars. If the president believes grounding us helps achieve peace, we should obey. Peace? Jae-sung turned to face her. They are not offering peace. They are demanding surrender. There is a difference. The argument spread through the room. Officers took sides, voices grew heated. Daehyun let them talk for several minutes, then raised his hand for silence. I understand your feelings, he said quietly. I share them, but we are military officers. We follow orders from civilian leadership even when we disagree. The president has made her decision. We will obey it. Jae-sung's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Yes, Captain. After the meeting, Young Mi found Daehyun alone in his quarters. He was staring out the viewport at the stars, a glass of water in his hand. You do not agree with the order, she said. It was not a question. No, Daehyun admitted, but my agreement is not required. Only my obedience. The crew is upset. Some talk about refusing the order. Daehyun turned to face her. Talk or action? Just talk. For now. Young Mi sat down. But Jae-sung is influential. If he pushes, others might follow. I will speak with him. What if he is right, Captain? What if showing weakness only encourages the coalition? Daehyun was quiet for a long moment. I have been thinking about that question for days. And I keep coming back to the same answer. I do not know. Maybe strength is the right path. Maybe flexibility is. But I do know this. The moment military officers start overruling civilian leadership, we stop being defenders and become warlords. Even if the civilians are wrong, especially then, democracy only works if the military accepts civilian control, right or wrong. He looked back at the stars. My job is not to make policy. My job is to follow orders and keep my crew together. So that is what I will do. On Earth, Admiral Kyung-soo received the president's decision and felt rage building in his chest. He called an emergency meeting with other senior officers who shared his views. She is making a mistake, he said. The coalition will see this as surrender. What can we do? Asked General Park. The president has authority. The president has authority during peacetime, Kyung-soo said carefully. But if Earth is threatened, military leadership must be prepared to protect our people, even from their own government's mistakes. The room went quiet. Everyone understood what he was suggesting. It had no name, no official plan, but the possibility hung in the air like smoke. We should wait, Admiral Chen said. See how the situation develops. Wait for what? For them to dismantle our defenses? Kyung-soo shook his head. I am not suggesting immediate action, but we should prepare contingencies. If the president's diplomacy fails, we must be ready to act. Act how? The 3 sister ships under construction. We accelerate their completion. We prepare supply lines, establish fallback positions. We do not launch them, not yet, but we make sure we can, if necessary. Without presidential authorization? The authorization can come later, Kyung-soo said, after we have saved Earth from its own weakness. Not everyone agreed. The meeting broke up with the leadership more divided than before. Some officers left determined to follow Kyung-soo's suggestion. Others left planning to report the conversation to civilian oversight. Earth's government, like the Indomitable's crew, was fracturing under pressure. Aboard the ship, Dae-hyun found Jae-sung in the observation deck. The younger officer stood alone, watching Earth grow larger in the viewport as they approached home. "Commander," Dae-hyun said, "we need to talk. I know what you are going to say, Captain. That I need to support the orders. That I need to keep my doubts private. Actually, I was going to say that you are not wrong. About anything." Jae-sung turned, surprised. "Sir? You are right that this might look like weakness. Right that the coalition might take advantage. Right that we have done nothing wrong." Dae-hyun moved to stand beside him. "But being right about the situation does not mean you are right about the solution. What is the right solution?" "I do not know, and that is the honest truth." Dae-hyun looked at his own reflection in the viewport. "I have commanded ships for 20 years. I know tactics, strategy, combat theory. But this situation is beyond combat. It is politics, diplomacy, psychology. I am out of my depth. So we just follow orders blindly? No, we follow them with open eyes." Dae-hyun turned to face his first officer. "Jae-sung, I need you. This crew respects you. If you refuse the recall order, others will follow. The ship will divide, and a divided ship cannot function. You think I would mutiny? I think you are passionate about defending Earth. That passion is your strength, but it could also lead you to make a mistake that would destroy everything we have built." Jae-sung was quiet for a long time. Finally, he nodded. "I will follow your orders, Captain, and I will help keep the crew together, but I want it on record that I believe we are making a mistake." "Recorded and noted," Dae-hyun said. "And when this is over, if I survive, you can say you told me so." "If we survive," Jae-sung corrected. "Yes, if." The Indomitable reached Earth 2 days later. It descended through the atmosphere and landed at the military spaceport outside Seoul. Crowds had gathered to watch, thousands of people holding signs and shouting. Some signs said heroes, others said warmongers. Earth, like its military and its flagship, was divided against itself. As Dae-hyun walked down the ramp and felt Earth's gravity for the first time in months, he looked at the crowds and felt profound sadness. They had built something amazing, something that should have made humanity proud. Instead, it had made them afraid. Fear of the galaxy's response, fear of war, fear of their own power. He wondered which fear would ultimately win. Part 4. The Vote and the Trap. The day of the vote arrived like a storm. Ambassador Hana stood in the preparation room adjacent to the council chamber, reviewing her speech for the 100th time. Minji had helped her write it, choosing every word carefully. It had to be perfect. Their entire future might depend on the next 30 minutes. "They will not listen," Minji said quietly. "The coalition has the votes. This is already decided." "I know," Hana replied, "but I have to try anyway. For history, if nothing else. So that someday people will know we did not go quietly." The chamber doors opened. Hana walked into the vast circular room with her head high. 200 species watched her enter. Most of their faces showed nothing. A few showed pity. None showed support. Speaker Vexithar's voice filled the chamber. "The council recognizes Ambassador Hana of Earth. You may speak regarding the proposed Axiom Accords." Hana stepped to the central platform. Her voice, translated into hundreds of languages, reached every corner of the room. "Honored delegates, 300 years ago, your ancestors created this council to ensure peace through cooperation. You welcomed new species with open hands. You taught them, guided them, helped them grow. When humanity first made contact, we were eager students. We learned from you. We admired you. We wanted to be like you." She paused, looking around the room. "But we also brought something of our own. Human creativity, human determination, human innovation. These are not crimes. They are gifts. We built the Indomitable to protect our people, not threaten yours. We demonstrated our capabilities to show respect, to prove we could stand as equals in this great community." "You call it respect," a delegate interrupted. "We call it intimidation." "If our success intimidates you, then ask yourselves why," Hana replied. Are you afraid of what we will do? We have never attacked anyone, never threatened invasion, never broken a single galactic law. Or are you afraid of what our success means about yourselves? The chamber stirred with uncomfortable murmurs. The Axiom Accords are not about justice, Hana continued, her voice growing stronger. They are about fear. Fear that humanity might challenge the old order. Fear that new ideas might disrupt comfortable arrangements. Fear that you might not be as superior as you thought. We have heard enough, Speaker Vexthar said. His tone was not unkind, but it was final. The Council will now vote on the Axiom Accords. These accords classify the human vessel Indomitable, and any similar craft as weapons of mass stellar disruption. Such vessels will be banned from Council space. Humanity will have 30 days to comply or face unified military action. The vote was electronic and instant. Numbers appeared on screens throughout the chamber. In favor, 127 against 8. Abstaining, 12. Hana felt the floor drop away beneath her. She had known it was coming, but seeing the numbers made it real. 127 civilizations had just voted to exile humanity's greatest achievement. The Axiom Accords are passed, Vexthar announced. Ambassador Hana, your government has 30 days to demonstrate compliance. Hana left the chamber in silence. Minji met her outside, her face pale. I am so sorry, Ambassador. It was always going to happen, Hana said numbly. We just needed to try. They walked back to Earth's embassy. Hana was about to collapse into her chair when her secure communication device buzzed urgently. It was Tavrine. Ambassador, we need to meet now, somewhere private. They met in the same garden as before. But this time Tavrine was shaking with agitation, his feathers ruffled with stress. They lied, he said immediately. The coalition lied about the 30 days. What do you mean? The Krell Empire has no intention of waiting. They have positioned warships along the Indomitable's route to Earth. My government intercepted their communications. The plan is to destroy your ship before it reaches home and blame it on pirates. Hana felt ice flood her veins. When? Soon, perhaps within days. The Krell want the ship gone before humanity can build more like it, and they want it done quietly, so they can maintain the fiction of following proper procedure. Why are you telling me this? Because it is wrong, Tavrine said simply. Because the Council is supposed to stand for justice, not murder. And because if the Krell succeed, they will have shown that rules only matter when they are convenient. Hana grabbed her communication device and sent an emergency message to the Indomitable. Captain Daehyun, this is Ambassador Hana. Urgent Krell ambush positioned along your route. Recommend immediate course change or return to Council space. The message was sent in burst transmission, encrypted and compressed. It would take hours to reach the ship, traveling at light speed. Hana could only pray it arrived in time. Aboard the Indomitable, the crew had been in space for 2 days, making their way slowly back to Earth. Captain Daehyun had ordered standard speed, partly to follow orders and partly to give diplomacy time to work. Seo Jun, the navigation officer, had been monitoring sensors carefully. Something had been bothering him for the past several hours. Unusual readings, mass concentrations in space where nothing should be. Captain, he called out, I am detecting anomalies ahead. Possible ship signatures, but they are using some kind of stealth technology. I cannot get clear readings. How many? Difficult to say. At least 20. Possibly more. Daehyun studied the sensor data. The anomalies were positioned perfectly to intercept their course. Too perfectly to be coincidence. Someone is waiting for us, he said quietly. Then Hana's message arrived. Daehyun read it 3 times, each time with growing anger. They never intended to give us 30 days, he said. This was the plan all along. Vote to ban us, then eliminate us before we can comply. What do we do, Captain? Jiwoo asked from the weapons station. It was a good question. They could turn back toward Council space, but that would make humanity look guilty of something. They could try to go around the ambush, but that would take weeks and they might be followed. Or they could continue forward and spring the trap deliberately. Daehyun contacted Admiral Kyung-soo on Earth, sending him all the sensor data and intelligence from Hana. The Admiral's response came quickly. Fight your way through. Destroy them if necessary. This proves the Council cannot be trusted. We need that evidence. Daehyun read the order and felt sick. Kyung-soo wanted a battle, wanted proof of the Council's treachery, wanted justification for everything he had been arguing. But Daehyun could not shake a simple truth. Starting a fight, even a justified one, would make humanity into exactly what the galaxy feared. A violent species with unstoppable weapons, Captain, Jae-sung prompted. Your orders? Dae-hyun looked at his crew. They were watching him, trusting him to make the right decision. But what was right? Turn back and look weak? Go around and look afraid? Fight through and look aggressive? Then he had a different thought. A crazy, dangerous thought that might be humanity's only chance. Seojun, he said, calculate a jump directly to Axiom Prime, right above the council chamber. The navigation officer stared at him. Sir, that is one of the most heavily defended locations in the galaxy. We would be surrounded by warships. Yes, but we would also be in front of the entire council, in front of everyone. Dae-hyun turned to address his crew. They set a trap for us in the darkness where no one would see. So we will bring the truth into the light. If they want to destroy us, they will have to do it in front of the whole galaxy. That is insane, Jae-sung said, but he was smiling. I love it. Young Mi was more cautious. Captain, if this goes wrong, we could start a war. A real war. If we do nothing, we guarantee a war, Dae-hyun replied. At least this way we control when and where it happens. And maybe, just maybe, we can shame them into backing down. And if we cannot... Dae-hyun looked at the gravity lance controls, at the cascade drive display, at all the weapons and systems that made the Indomitable so feared. Then we show them exactly why they were right to be afraid. He opened a channel to all crew stations. This is the captain. We are about to do something very dangerous. In approximately 3 hours, we will jump directly to Axiom Prime and confront the council with evidence of the Krell ambush. We will not fire first, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. Anyone who wishes to object has the right to do so now. Silence filled the channel. Then Jiwoo spoke. No objections here, Captain. Let us go talk to them. One by one, every station reported ready. Even Jae-sung, who usually argued with every decision, simply nodded his approval. Dae-hyun felt pride swell in his chest. They were afraid. He could see it on their faces. But they trusted him, and they believed in what they were doing. Seo-jun, prepare the jump. We leave in 10 minutes. As the countdown began, Dae-hyun sent one final message to Earth to Admiral Kyung-soo and President Yoon-ji. He told them what he was about to do and why. The president's response was predictable. Negative. Do not engage. That is a direct order. Admiral Kyung-soo's response was more complex. Officially, I must tell you to stand down. Unofficially, make us proud, Dae-hyun smiled grimly. The admiral understood. Sometimes the only way to win was to refuse to play by the opponent's rules. Jump in 30 seconds, Seo-jun announced. The crew took their positions. Every system showed green. The cascade drive hummed with building power. Jumping now. Part 5. Humanity's Answer. The Indomitable hung in space above Axiom Prime like a blade suspended over the galaxy's throat. Every defense system on the station went active simultaneously. Weapon platforms locked on. Patrol ships scrambled. Warning signals screamed through every communication channel. In the council chamber, delegates dove for cover. Alarms blared. Security forces rushed to evacuation points. Some species, those with military backgrounds, recognized what was happening and reacted with trained calm. Others panicked. Speaker Vexthar remained at his station, all 6 arms gripping his console. Human vessel, you have violated council space. Withdraw immediately or you will be fired upon. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Dae-hyun stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the dozens of ships moving to surround them. He kept his voice calm and clear. Speaker Vexthar, I am Captain Dae-hyun of the TESS Indomitable. We are not here to attack. We are here to speak truth. You can speak truth by communication channel. You do not need to invade our space to do it. With respect, Speaker, yes we do, because what we have to say must be heard by everyone, not filtered through official channels, not buried in reports, everyone. Dae-hyun activated the ship's broadcast system. His voice went out on all frequencies, translated into every major galactic language. Every ship, every station, every world with a receiver heard him. 3 days ago, the Council voted to ban our ship from galactic space. You gave us 30 days to comply. That was a lie. In the Council chamber, delegates who had been heading for exit stopped. They looked at each other in confusion. The Krell Empire positioned warships along our route home. They used stealth technology to hide their presence. Their plan was to destroy us and blame it on pirates. They never intended to honor the 30-day deadline. Dae-hyun transmitted the sensor data, the intercepted communications. everything Tavarine had provided. It appeared on screens throughout the council chamber and on every major newsfeed in the galaxy. Here is your evidence. Here is your truth. The council voted to ban us out of fear, then tried to murder us in secret. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Delegates shouted at each other. Some rushed toward the Krell representative Cormix demanding explanations. Others called for order. Cormix rose to his full height, his armored form imposing even among the diverse species present. These are lies. Propaganda from a species trying to justify their weapons of terror. Then explain the ships, Daehyun replied. Explain why they were positioned exactly along our route. Explain the communications my intelligence officer intercepted discussing our elimination. Anyone can fake data. Then let the council investigate. Let them send inspectors to the coordinates I provided. Let them ask the Krell military command where their warships are currently located. More shouting. More confusion. But Daehyun noticed something important. Doubt. The delegates were not sure what to believe, but they were no longer certain of the Krell's innocence. Ambassador Hana stood in the viewing gallery, her heart pounding. Beside her, Tavarine whispered urgently, "This is incredibly dangerous. If shooting starts, everyone dies." "I know," Hana replied. "But look at them. They are listening." Speaker Vexthar called for order, his voice amplified over the noise. "Enough, Captain Daehyun, you have made serious accusations. But you have also violated our space. Our defense forces are authorized to fire. Why should we not destroy your ship right now?" "Because you are afraid of what we represent," Daehyun said. "Not what we have done, but what we could do. So let me show you what we will do." He nodded to Jiwoo. She looked uncertain but followed his instructions. The Indomitable began transmitting again, but this time it was not accusations or evidence. It was technical data, complete specifications of every system on the ship, the Cascade Drive, the adaptive shields, the gravity lance, every weapon, every defense, every piece of technology that made the ship so formidable. "This is everything," Daehyun broadcast. "Every secret we have. We are giving it to you, all of you, not as a gesture of weakness, but as a gesture of trust." The council chamber fell absolutely silent. On Earth, Admiral Kyung-soo watched his screen in disbelief and rage. Daehyun had just given away humanity's greatest military advantage. President Yoonji watched the same broadcast and felt something entirely different. Hope. "You feared us because you did not understand us." Daehyun continued. "You saw our weapons and assumed we wanted conquest. You saw our technology and assumed we wanted domination. But you were wrong. We built the Indomitable to protect our people, not threaten yours. And now we are proving it." He paused, letting his words sink in across the galaxy. "You have our specifications now. You can build counters to our technology. You can design defenses. We have given up our advantage freely, not because we are afraid, but because we believe in something more important than advantage. We believe in cooperation, in trust, in peace." "But how can we trust you?" someone shouted from the council floor. "How do we know this is not a trick?" Daehyun smiled sadly. "You cannot know. That is what trust means. It means taking a risk, and we are taking the biggest risk of all. We are betting our survival on your decency." On Earth, President Yoonji made her decision. She opened a channel to the council, her face appearing on screens throughout the chamber. "This is President Yoonji of Earth. Captain Daehyun acted without my direct authorization, but I am making his actions official policy. Earth will share all our advanced military technology with the council. In return, we ask only one thing, that you treat us as partners, not threats." She took a deep breath. "We propose a new treaty, not the Axiom Accords, which were born from fear, but a true alliance, joint defense initiatives, shared technology, mixed crews on military vessels. We will build the next generation of ships together, so that no single species holds all the advantages." "And if we refuse?" Cormix demanded. "If we still see you as a threat?" "Then you will prove that fear is stronger than wisdom," Yoonji replied. "And you will lose the greatest opportunity the galaxy has had in centuries. The opportunity to grow together instead of growing apart." Speaker Vexthar's many arms moved in what might have been a gesture of thought. He looked at the technical data still streaming from the human ship. He looked at the faces of delegates throughout the chamber. "The Krell representative will answer for the attempted ambush," he said finally. "A full investigation will be conducted. As for the human proposal..." He paused, and in that pause the future of the galaxy hung in balance. The Council will form a joint commission to explore this possibility. We will not rush to judgment again, either in fear or in hope. Captain Daehyun, you will withdraw your ship from Council space peacefully. If you do, we will consider your actions here as desperate necessity, rather than hostile invasion. Agreed, Daehyun said. He looked at Seojun. Take us home, slowly. The Indomitable began to move away from Axiom Prime. Defense forces parted to let it through, weapons still locked but not firing. It was a tense dance, a knife's edge between peace and war. As they cleared the defense perimeter, Jiwoo spoke quietly. Captain, we just gave away everything. Years of research, billions in development costs. Our only real advantage. I know, Daehyun replied. Was it worth it? He looked at the stars ahead, at the path that would take them home. Ask me in 10 years. If we are still free, still independent, still partners with the galaxy instead of enemies, then yes, it was worth everything. On Axiom Prime, the council session continued late into the night. The investigation into the Krell ambush began immediately. 3 admirals were arrested within hours. Cormix resigned in disgrace, but more importantly, the Joint Commission began its work. Tavreen was chosen to lead it, along with a human representative, Ambassador Hana. Their first meeting was awkward. Trust, they all discovered, was much harder to build than to destroy, but they began the work anyway because what else could they do? 6 months later, construction began on the first joint human-alien warship. It would be called the Unity, and it would incorporate human cascade drive technology with Velen defense systems and Thros medical facilities. The crew would include officers from 12 different species. Captain Daehyun was chosen to command it. His first officer would be an alien, a young military officer from a species humanity had never met before the Council. Together, they would patrol space lanes protecting trade routes from pirates and raiders. It was not perfect. There were arguments about command structure, about cultural differences, about whose traditions took precedence. But they worked through them slowly and painfully, building something new. Commander Jae-sung came to Daehyun's quarters one evening. I owe you an apology, Captain. I thought you were weak. Thought surrendering our advantage was foolish. And now? Now I think you saw something I could not. That being the strongest does not mean you have won. It just means everyone else is looking for ways to bring you down. Jae-sung smiled. Better to bring them up instead. That is very wise for someone so young. I learned it from my captain. On Earth, Admiral Kyung-soo retired. He had argued against Daehyun's actions, called them treason, demanded courts-martial. But President Yoon-ji had stood firm. Ah,